New York Knicks news and rumors coming at you. Harrison Graham and Chase Sr. here, NBA Now by Chat Sports. And Chase, it just continues to be a struggle for the Knicks. They played the Sixers pretty well the other night, and then it fell apart once again. And you know what? I think a big problem with this team this year has been the disappointment around Julius Randle, who has played better as of late, but Bleacher Report dropped an article of basically the most disappointing quote-unquote stars. I don't know if Randle's in that category currently. And they had Randle as their second most disappointing star in the NBA this year. I couldn't remember who's number one, but Randle was number two. And Chase, outside of a recent, pretty solid stretch over the last couple of weeks, I mean, the numbers have been down across the board. I know you've really been on him about the attitude, the body language concerns. This is not what they paid for. No. This is not what the Knicks signed up for when they gave him that 4-year, $120 million extension.
Too much ISO ball. It's too much on the offensive end of him just trying to break down his defender one-on-one off the dribble, and he doesn't have a wide array of moves for him to be successful in that regard when he's playing with that style. I like Julius Randle. What he was able to do after the All-Star break last year was phenomenal. I thought he was a legitimate MVP candidate in the back half of last year. There's a big reason why he won Most Improved Player. He was great. But this year, his numbers have fallen off a cliff. He hasn't been the same player. And the Knicks as a team just aren't the same team. And Tom Thibodeau has really struggled to get this team going from the start of the year up until now. And in free agency, you thought they made a bunch of moves to round out this roster. They didn't have a star, but they had a bunch of other solid players led by Julius Randle. But it's been a disappointing year for him. You look at the shooting splits, numbers down a lot. Field goal percentage down 11 points, 12 points from beyond the arc, which is crazy. Points per game down by about 5, rebounds about the same. But the point here being the eye test really does tell the story, Harrison. Hasn't been the same player. He's been up and down. He's been sporadic. He's been inefficient and inconsistent. And that's not a recipe for success when you're supposed to be the number one guy. I will say this. RJ Barrett the last couple of weeks has really, really impressed me, especially off the dribble with his aggressiveness. I think there's something there. I think he can become a star.
Yeah, as far as Julius goes, like I said, this just isn't what they paid for. I mean, when you max a guy out, I'm not going to sit here and say I expected Julius to have, literally the same season he had a year ago, but they paid for him to be consistent. They paid for him to bring it every night. They paid for him to be a leader, and he's been none of that. He's been inconsistent. He's been erratic. The jump shot has gone away. This was one of the best isolation players in the NBA last year, and he can't make a bucket consistently right now. It's been tough to watch, and, you had that whole incident at the Garden where he's yelling at the fans. They're yelling at him. He gives them the thumbs down. I mean, that was a bad look. I mean, you know what you sign up for when you play in New York. I mean, this is just how it goes. And, I think a big thing with athletes, Chase, is how are you going to handle adversity?
Yeah.
And I don't think he's handled adversity well at all this year. And that's been a problem. And that is a problem moving forward because you got 3 years and about $90 million left on this contract. And, that's why there's been, some trade buzz. Do you move him this offseason? And, 12 months can change a lot of things. And things have changed quickly when it comes to the New York Knicks.
Yeah, there's what you said on top of the fact that he's the highest paid player on the Knicks. When that is the case, you are the face of the franchise. You're supposed to be the leader. So when the leader of a basketball team has bad body language, when their attitude is subpar, when they're going after assistant coaches, when they're not even involved in team huddles, when they're on the phone at the dais during the press conference, that's not good enough. That's not the example that you're trying to set when you're the franchise player. So Randle has to be better in that way. You were paid as a superstar. And yes, I understand you're frustrated with how this year has gone, but you have to operate a little bit better if you're Julius Randle. And I don't think that, his attitude has been good enough at the end of the day, Harrison. I understand being frustrated. There's no doubt about that. But look, you just have to carry yourself in a different manner when you're the highest paid player on the team.
And look,
in New York, when all eyes are always on you.
Yeah, and I get, you start losing, the losses stack up, you're going to get frustrated. I'm not saying you're never allowed to show frustration. I'm saying this thing, it's like they lost 4 games in a row earlier in the year and they just never recovered. That can't happen. You cannot let 1 loss become 2. You can't let 3 losses become 5. And this thing's just piled up. I mean, Chase, they're 12 games, 13 games under 500 now. I mean, they're not even a threat to make the play-in tournament after being the 4 seed last year. And, It's just unfortunate to see how this is all playing out. I guess, the one bright side is you got 3 more years on this contract. There's time for this to turn around, but for this year, feels like a lost year for the New York Knicks. What do you guys think? Do you still believe in Julius Randle? Can he get this turned around in the long term? Type B for believe, type D for don't. I know this, Chase. Knicks fans, they've been waiting a long time to be relevant, and they sniffed just a little bit of success last year, and they were lit for it, and now they're frustrated once again. We got some Knicks St. Patrick's Day gear on sale. Chatsports.com/Knicks Green. Get the sweet t-shirt. There's some other gear over there as well. Link in the comments, link in the description. And, hey, if nothing else, throw this song, go drink on St. Patty's Day to drown your sorrows after this Knicks season. Let's get you guys up on the MVP race across the NBA. Chase, it's getting spicy, man. I'm really liking the level of play we're seeing from some of these guys. And by the way, we're going to focus on 5 players. There's a few others like the Luka Doncic's of the world who just won Western Conference Player of the Month that could make a push as well. But what do you think about this race? And let's break down some of these guys.
I'm not factoring in recency bias here. I just think this is one of the best and closest NBA MVP races that we've seen in a little while. By the way, Luka Doncic, month of February, 35 points per game, 41% from 3, and about 45% from the field.
10 rebounds, 8 assists.
So he deserves to be in this conversation as well. And Jason Kidd deserves to be getting some NBA Head Coach of the Year buzz. And if he continues to play like that, Mavs continue to win games, Luka can be among these 5 players. But right now, Joel Embiid is the leader. Nikola Jokic is right behind him at 3-1 odds. Giannis is sneakily having a fantastic year, right on par with his MVP prior seasons. And then Ja Morant, DeMar DeRozan have really climbed up the rankings the last couple of weeks. Last week we were saying they're not getting enough buzz. Now they finally are getting that respect because Ja and DeRozan, you take them away from their respective teams, they're not good basketball teams.
Yeah, DeRozan just won Player of the Month in the East as well. And a quick note on Giannis, by the way. He currently is on pace to have the highest player efficiency rating in NBA history.
It's crazy.
So, and he's not even the favorite right now. That's how good these guys are playing. We'll start with Embiid, the favorite right now. Just keeping this team afloat. And what did we say all years? Stay 500 until the All-Star break? Well, they were like 10, 11 games above. That's how good he was playing. Now you factor in Harden, what he's been able to do in that 2-man game. If Embiid stays healthy, going to be tough for him not to win it.
Yeah, and he's been actually better with James Harden, which can come as a surprise to some people because you're expecting Joel Embiid to maybe get less shot opportunities. He's actually gone to the free throw line more with James Harden, and his points per game is more as well. I think when you talk about Joel Embiid winning the NBA MVP, you think about all of the distractions that happen with the Ben Simmons situation. Ben Simmons is a second-team All-Pro. He's a first-team All-Defender. To not have him all year and for the Sixers at the All-Star break to be as good as they were, really, really impressive in a very good Eastern Conference. What Embiid does offensively, defensively, shooting with his array of moves and skills on the offensive end, he's just been masterful. And last year, he finished runner-up to the Joker in NBA MVP. Right now, he has the edge. Let's hope he can stay healthy.
And the Joker's been on a tear recently as well. He continues to improve as a rebounder specifically. 14 boards per game this year. He had a stat line recently, Chase, where he had 8 points, but he had like 18 assists and like 16 rebounds or something like that. Sometimes he's like, I don't feel like scoring tonight. I'll just drop 20 dimes on you. For a 7-footer, we've never seen it. There's a reason he won it last year. I thought it was garbage when Nick Wright said it was the worst MVP in the last 35
Historical
years.
Season.
He does things for his size we've literally never seen.
Yeah.
So
that pass the other night, dude.
Oh my God! He's standing like this in the post. Like the high post on the right wing, and he throws like a two-seam, two-handed pass over a 6'8" guy in the corner. Of course, the 3 was missed, but it's one of the greatest passes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's elite, and he's right there in the mix, as is Giannis. I just mentioned, Chase, the player efficiency rating, and not surprising, right? When you're averaging 30, 11, and 6, your PER is going to be very high.
And it's funny because I think people are overshadowing Giannis somehow because of the other masterful performances that we've seen in the NBA, maybe because He's coming off a season in which the Bucks won the NBA championship and the NBA Finals MVP for Giannis, and people have Giannis fatigue. I'm not sure, but this statistically has been one of the best years of his career. Now, maybe he's not getting that MVP love because the Bucks aren't a 1 or 2 seed in the Eastern Conference right now as of this recording, but Giannis has been absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And look, I think the people are sleeping on the Bucks in general. I mean, they won the freaking title last year, and people aren't even considering them as a potential favorite. Ja Morant, he's kind of NBA Twitter these days, Chase, Instagram, because of the highlight reels. And, I've seen a lot of takes, some saying, we've seen this before. I think Colin Cowherd said, this is Russell Westbrook. Like 5 years from now, we'll just be talking about,
D-Rose.
is he the same guy? I don't view it that way, man. I think Ja Morant, sure, he's got that explosiveness to his game, but I don't see why there's any reason why this guy can't be a MVP type of player and a winning player for a very, very long time. The shot needs to continue to improve, but something he has that a guy like Russ doesn't have is I think his leadership and intangibles are off the charts. I think guys gravitate toward him. You saw the other night when he dropped 52, all his teammates are running and jumping to him at the end of that game, like, yo, that was badass, that type of thing. Like, Ja Morant is a leader, Chase. He's a great player. He's also only in year 3. He is a very young player still.
Grind City's been turning up at FedEx Forum.
It's going to be lit in the playoffs.
We talked about this before, but Ja for me is really one of one. He's a combination of 3 players. Kyrie Irving and his finishing ability around the rim. He has a little bit of Derrick Rose in him from an athletic standpoint, and then the same can be said for Russell Westbrook, but I think he's a better shooter than the latter two. Such a bright potential. Does he play with reckless abandon to a certain degree? Yes. Do you worry about him being as springy later on in his career, and can he be as effective? We'll see, but right now, in my opinion, my eyes, he's the most exciting player in the NBA.
Better decision maker than Russell Westbrook.
Yes, no question. Doesn't play that maddening style of basketball.
DeMar DeRozan, I mean, look, if you want to call it boring, if 28 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on 52%, mostly in the mid-range is boring, and give me boring, because what this guy has done for Chicago this year, Chase, this team wasn't a playoff team a year ago. And they might win the East in the regular season. And by the way, that's with Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball missing significant time, Patrick Williams being out all year, and Zach LaVine's not 100%. And the Bulls have come out and said he's not going to be 100%. Like, he probably needs a procedure after the season. So DeMar DeRozan is carrying the load in Chicago, and they're probably going to win 55 games out of an 82-game season, and they're going to have a chance in the playoffs. So what he's done for that team, by the way, in his early 30s, I mean, many people thought his best seasons were behind him. I mean, how many articles, Bleacher Report, all these places, worst contract of the offseason?
Well, yeah, $84 million, I think it was, during NBA free agency. That's a lot, but he has literally defied the odds. Nobody has had a career season this late in their career than DeMar DeRozan.
Not only was it a good contract, he's outperformed it.
Yeah,
That's how good he's been. So it's a fun race. It's exciting. I'm fascinated to see how it all plays out, as I'm sure all of you are as well. Who is the MVP this year? At least right now. This can certainly change as it's that close. Let us know. Chase and I will be reading your comments on this video.